Do Ape-Men still live on the island of Flores? An interesting look at possible survival of an archaic hominoid on the island of Flores, one that may or may not be the famous hobbit, Homo floresiensis. The story begins in 2003 as a cave was found with 9 anatomically very primitive hominids that stood 1 meter tall with brain capacities very similar to that of chimpanzees. Many have heard of Homo floresiensis, or the quote-unquote hobbit. The short history of the species has been filled with controversy and constant questioning and changes. LB1, the original specimen, was thought to be a microcephalic by some, a pygmy by others, and a new species by others still. There is only one lucky find of this hobbit species that was traced back to just 12,000 years ago. However, there have been many accounts of these short men similar to both monkeys and humans. The name given to them by the Leo people is Lahoa. They claim they live mostly in highland forests, where the Indonesian people don't normally go. Insular dwarfism of local erectus populations was a popular early explanation for their odd mix of attributes. It has also been proposed that they are a pygmy of some archaic species. Origins aside, what if they, or something similar, has survived past their accepted extinction date? Anthropologist Gregory Forth, while doing fieldwork on the remote Indonesian island of Flores, began hearing stories of Ape-Men. He has recounted many of these in his book, Between Ape and Human, an anthropologist on the trail of a hidden hominoid. Forth was lucky enough to have been able to hear accounts from the Leo people about a creature they call the Lahoa, which he refers to as Ape-Man or Ape-Men prior to the discovery of Homo floresiensis, meaning these accounts are not influenced by the modern find. Forth provides many accounts of the Lahoa. He notes that most of the Leo are able to provide a general description of them as being small humans, or upright monkeys, with some describing them as more human-like and others as more monkey-like. Most descriptions note that they are hairy-bodied and roughly 1 meter tall. A small handful of descriptions noted that they were basically not any hairier than the Leo people themselves, but these are a small minority of the descriptions. Now onto some eyewitness accounts. Here's the account of 2 Leo hunters from Flores encountering what they called Lahoa. They recount that they found 2 Ape-Men squatting uphill. They stood up straight, revealing a bipedal height of 1 meter. After being fired upon by bow, the 2 creatures retreated, running bipedally by lifting their legs in a sort of leaping fashion. The 2 hunters then described their memory of the 2 creatures as being mostly covered in reddish hair. The hair on the head was the same length as the hair on the body, and they were sure the creatures did not have tails, unlike some other primates endemic to that region. Then they go on to describe the head and feet of the animal as rather monkey-like. Here's the account of Malo, a man in his late 40s, of high social standing and very educated. He remembers 2 of these creatures in the middle of the road murmuring to each other. As he approached, they ran into the forest bipedally while continuing to vocalize. Malo recounts that they were only about 1 foot 8 inches, however they were tailless, covered in brown fur, and had vocalizations quite distinct from other monkeys of that region. Here is an interesting account by a man named Tegu on finding a dead hominoid on his property. He described it as an elderly female with a human face lying face down under a tree. The author added that he had heard elsewhere that this is a pose commonly adopted by sleeping Ape-Men. Tegu described the dead corpse as extremely old with fine dense white hair and old dark skin like that of the local peoples. Tegu described the creature as being about 2 feet 2 inches, but the author believes it could have approached a meter in length. The 4th is the story of fellow anthropologist Mike Hitchcock on an island west of Flores called Sumbawa. He described how one morning he traveled through foliage cut 1 meter high. He was then encountered by 3 to 4 shrieking monkeys. He then sensibly backed off and returned to his village. When he first spoke to the author in 2005, Mike described them as being bolt upright, being nearly 1 meter tall, the same height as a tunnel. They did not have long head hair, but the light was too dim to make out the size of the body hair. Here, Forth compares the similarities of the height, body size, and facial descriptions of Lahoa to that of the Homo floresiensis paleontologist find. Forth then goes on to write in a relatively open way. Despite its flaws, it's also hard to resist the view that if mystery hominoids exist, not only would one of them been found by now by scientists, but scientists would have heard about it and accepted it. Yet, as examples from zoology and paleontology have shown, both living and extinct species can remain hidden from science for a very long time. It should also be known that the heat and humidity in places like Flores make the preservation difficult. For example, we haven't found a single Denisovan bone in all of Oceania, despite being confident they were once there. The people of Flores are not exactly what you would call technologically advanced either. To get a picture of one of these Ape-Men, first someone would have to find this rare creature while holding a camera, then they would have to take a good non-blurry photo of La Hoa, then they would have to know exactly what to do with it, and finally the find would have to be published and believed by the scientific world. Not exactly a small task. Anyways, thanks for watching, and make sure to pick up Gregory Forth's book, Between Ape and Human. It's a short read and quite fascinating. Bye everybody.